We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends. If you want to support this college football rebel outpost for college football sickos like you and me, with a donation, hit the $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Chaos in college football is peeking around the corner. Athletic directors are under extreme pressure. That is the title for our live show today. Now, we did our selections on Tuesday against the spread. We've talked about the great schedule of college football games that are going on this weekend. A large part of this show today is going to be open line Thursday. Call in, let me know how you feel. Let me know how you're feeling about your team going down the home stretch. What are your team goals? Are you trying to make a bowl game? Are you just trying to win a game? Are you testing out a freshman quarterback to get them ready for next year? Or is your team battling to get into the conference championship game and battling to get into the college football playoffs? Let me know with a phone call or with a chat. Either way, today we are going to talk about chaos. A couple different... it's going to be dramatic. A couple different waves of chaos that is coming directly towards us. One of the waves of chaos we're not going to be able to avoid. The waves are just going to throw us up against the rocks. The other one, well, it's all determined on what happens on these Saturdays for the last couple of weeks. Ricky Tungate helping to keep the lights on. Go Hoosiers. Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate your incredible generosity once again. Big super chat. Thank you so very much. A great way to start off our live show, October 31st. Now, it's Halloween. This show is going to be a little spooky for a lot of us. For a lot of us. Let me ask you the question. I asked it on the title screen. Will your school pay all the way to the cap? Which is really the cap of the floor. In other words, is your school going to pay the $22, $23 million to their student athletes? Are you going to go all the way to the top? As much as you're allowed to, from direct payments from the student athletes, from the athletic department to the student athletes, is your school actually going to spend it all? Now, a couple of months ago when I asked this question, pretty much everybody said, yeah, we'll find a way. Yeah, we'll do it. Now, when I ask the question, now when I do the poking and a prodding, I'm getting a lot of, we might not get all the way up there. We might not get all the way up. The first year transitioning, we might not spend 22, whatever the cap is going to be. We do not know the exact cap. I'm getting a lot of that. I'm getting a lot of B-Tim and his associates, the money purchase, saying, I don't think our school is going to quite get there. And I'm bringing this up today because West Virginia 247 owner and writer Mike Kaza, who is legit, puts out a little piece. I'm going to read it to you all. Obviously, from who he has been talking to, there's going to be plenty of schools that are not going to pay all the way up to the cap in the first year. That in itself is going to cause chaos. A lot of disappointment. A whole lot of disappointment. So we're going to go through that. And then we're going to go through an article written by Mr. Chapel Fowler yesterday, Clemson writer, newspaper publication, The State. It's titled, Where Clemson Football Stands with Miami SMU in the ACC Championship Game Tiebreaker. We're going to go over this article. And I'm going to tell you something, man. Pure chaos is about to hit us when it comes to these tiebreakers. Incredible stuff. We're going to go through this article, and then we're going to get to your phone calls. It's going to be pretty much open line Thursday, but we got a couple things to talk about in the monologue, and it is chaos is peeking around the corner here in college football. Thank you so much, Ricky Tungate, for your incredible generosity once again. Go Big Red Skaven, yes, is a new member, Early Peak Cloak and Dagger. I appreciate it so very much. Skaven, yes, you are hereby knighted. Cloak and Dagger. And yes, I understand. I owe everybody an Early Peak Cloak and Dagger episode, and it's all ready to go. But no, I haven't gotten the okay to release it. It's a big one. We pretty much go here at Peek Around the Corner. On the next one we drop, we go way over the tip of our skis. It's going to be a big one. It's a subject that we've touched on before. We've given you the peek. And now we believe we are on the cusp of giving you the resolution to the peek. And nobody else has reported on it yet. And we're going to give you the peek. But we haven't been given the go-ahead. Once we do, and we have been told that we are going to get the go-ahead. So we're not just slamming our heads against the door and the door is never going to open up. The door is going to open up. But I don't want to burn anybody. So be a little bit more patient. We're ready to go with the episode. But again, it's a very complicated business at times. And this is one of those complications because I've been working with somebody else on this story. But where drops first is going to be in the Early Peak Cloak and Dagger membership episode. That I can guarantee you. Skaven, yes, thank you so much for being a member. I appreciate it. Does it have to do with realignment? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But that not going any further than that. We just got to give the heads up on it. We've been sitting on this for 3 weeks. Okay. I am going to read you again, Mike Kaza. I mispronounced his last name. I've been reading him for years. He's been the owner of Ear Sports. He's been the beat writer, West Virginia. So much credibility. I'm just going to read you what he said here. He's talking about clearing up the picture about where West Virginia is and where it can go with football finances. He says the Mountaineers aren't poor, they spend. They need income, and now more than ever. explaining the situation and where they rank in the Big 12 might help understand the issues at hand. And again, you can also tie this into the Neil Brown story, right? I mean, we've been saying that Neil Brown is the canary in the coal mine, no pun intended when it comes to if a head coach is going to get fired or not, let go or not, because going into this transition, we believe the coaching carousel is going to be a very short ride. Not many head coaches are going to be released in the power conferences. So far, none of them have. There's going to be a few, but not as many in the years past because of the transition because of the NCAA, House versus NCAA, and the salary cap. He goes on to say, this is the time to dig in and discuss the finances for West Virginia football. Has it come to that? In many ways it has. Don't have to tell you that. The head coach's buyout, the cost of dismissing coaches, the subsequent cost of hiring a new staff, name, image, and likeness, revenue sharing. Well, cents don't matter here. It's dollars and more dollars. This is a concern at many schools, including West Virginia. We're going to walk through some of the facts and figures involved here. First, a few pointers. One, we found some of this information. We were told some of this information. We're relying on the accuracy of research and reporting, but also the accuracy of others who take us where the research and reporting cannot. Third, I'm the messenger. I'm not pushing or pulling any agenda. I'm just sharing. Let's go. Okay. First, West Virginia. Now, this is a West Virginia piece. But this could be written up for a lot of schools, including some in the Big Ten and some in the SEC. First, West Virginia athletics is not poor. West Virginia football is not poor. Ren Baker, the athletic director, told the truth, and it's a truth others see and share. The Mountaineers have an income problem and not a spending problem. A lot of expenses are either on the way, revenue sharing, or being suggested a coaching change. Some or all will happen. Some or all will rely on how much income is available. Now we're just going to go through a little bit more part of this, but I just wanted to wave a flag. I wanted to put out an alert for everybody to take notice. Stick with the revenue sharing. The consensus is an athletic department will be allowed to pay $20 million or so to student athletes. The number that's being kicked around is 22, 23 million, somewhere around there. But allowed to is far from able to. Some that Mike Kaza has been talking to, some think half of the Big Ten and the SEC will go to the cap. Something like a third of the Big 12 will do the same. West Virginia is not likely to be in that third. A more realistic number early on, because it can grow if revenues grow. Hint, hint, boosters. Wink, wink, boosters. West Virginia is not likely to be in that third a more realistic number early on, because if it can grow, if the revenue grows, is around 12 million or maybe 15 million. That's the ballpark. And that's fine, but it has to come from somewhere, whether inside or outside the current structure. This can't be a surprise, but it sounds like establishing a number here is the priority for a Power 4 school searching for a head coach. Good agents with coveted coaches will start there. With strong numbers, go to the top. Good question. Can we get back to schools will fall to the bottom? Okay. I'm not going to talk anymore about. It's going to go. That article goes into parts that we don't have to go to. Okay. So here's West Virginia. They're most, if not one of the most credible writers, saying West Virginia is not going to pay to the cap. And he's been told not all the SEC and the Big Ten schools are going to pay to the cap. And if you are a school looking for a new head coach, and West Virginia may be one of those schools, we do not know, that the agents of the coaches available out there, their number one, their leading question is, give me that number that this athletic department is going to be willing to pay for the football roster. Give me a number. And then that's how these available coaches, a lot of them are going to be like, okay, that's how they're going to judge what job they want, what job they don't want. This is why we came out a couple weeks ago with a live show saying PATC believes the coaching carousel is going to be a very short ride this year. This transition, all these athletic departments, these athletic directors, all they're thinking about is revenue, 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 revenue. I need more revenue, or I'm not going to be able to go all the way to the cap. And if I don't go all the way to the cap, suddenly I'm losing out on the opportunity to get the best coaches available, coaching staffs available, the best athletes available. It all trickles down, right? That is why it is almost impossible. There's going to be a lot of head coaches retaining their job that would normally retain their job after this year in the power conferences. So, chaos. There are going to be fan bases. There's going to be some in the Big Ten. Minnesota, I don't know if we're paying to the cap. Our athletic director definitely hasn't said we're paying the cap. No, I don't know. And then when it comes to football, well, whatever money we got other priorities. Football should be number one because of the cash cow, but in Minnesota, my goodness, the pressure to put forward money to the hockey programs is going to be incredible. It's going to happen. The athletic director would not survive if he or she did not put more money. These athletic departments are going to be looking awfully different from one another. Every school is going to have a different priority. And that is going to determine the players you can retain, the players that you can go get in the portal, the high school players that you can sign, and the coaching staff that you can get, retain. And according to the beat writer, to one of the most credible writers out there in 247, CBS 247, message boards across the country, he is saying, look, West Virginia's not going to pay to the cap. Only about a third of the Big 12 schools are going to pay to the cap. And there's going to be plenty of Big 10 and SEC teams that are not going to pay to the cap. I want to get your thoughts on it in the chat room. I want to get your phone calls on it. And this is everything that I've been hearing. Like, this is the chatter behind the curtain. The money is difficult to come up with. It's okay if a school doesn't have to pay all the way to the cap. Jeff Morgan says, what happens if a school can't pay? It just means that, you're gonna have less money for student athletes, right? You're gonna have a little bit less money, but if you select the right guys to give the money to, right, in your basketball program or your football program or your women's basketball, you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to retain your stars. You're going to have to, your margin of error is going to be less. You're going to be the Tampa Bay Rays, and other schools are going to be the New York Yankees. There's going to be plenty of Tampa Bay Rays, Kansas City Royals, Minnesota Twins out there. A lot of us are going to be that. But again, the reality is going to hit here. The consensus, the chatter behind the curtain is a lot of schools are not going to be able to pay to the cap. Not this first year. There's so much which, by the way, takes me to this bigger, larger point. And I don't know where this is going. Again, this is college football's peek around the corner. So I'm supposed to give you the peek around the corner. Thank you, Gygax. It's pronounced Kaza'a. Kaza'a. Mike Kaza'a. Well, I can't say it. Big Ears Bo, and no offense to him, you guys know I can't talk. Big Ears Bo, he's preparing the fan base for the Neil Brown return. Like I say, Neil Brown is the canary in the coal mine. It's going to tell us a lot. What happens to Neil Brown is going to tell us how short that coaching carousel ride is. It's going to be short. It could be super short here in 2025. But this all leads me to a bigger story. I don't know where it's going. It's going to be a short coaching carousel, okay? For all the reasons we've talked about, and the reasons we just talked about again just now. The athletic directors have told their commissioners, boy, we've got all this debt. We got booster money to come in to pay for this debt, for this facility. We got this money going to outside collection. Okay, now we've got to come up with this money. This is why the commissioners are going all out, baby. They are going all out. We are hearing some incredible radical stuff. Some stuff I have leaked to you. Some stuff I have not been able to leak to you. And I'm going to do it here once I get the okay. The new revenue streams. This is what's leading the Big Ten and the SEC the Big Ten and the SEC for the scheduling agreement. They want to get this money out. They want to. The top dogs in the SEC want the bottom dogs if the SEC they'd be able to pay the 22, 23 million. Same thing in the Big Ten. They want their conferences to be strong. They're looking for any money possible. The scheduling agreement with the two, if they can hammer it out, is the big solution to that. There are other commissioners, the Big 12, the ACC, that are looking at putting games and non-traditional dates on the calendar. I told you about it. This is the reason why. They're trying to increase their value towards their media partners so they can help pay this salary cap, which is actually the salary floor. Or the top of the floor. The top of the basement. Definitely one or more conferences have had deep talks about a flex weekend. We've talked about that at the end of the season. A possible conference semifinals to determine the conference champion. For more revenue. In fact, the talks have gotten so deep that the conference or conferences have had a figure given to them by at least one of their media partners. This is all happening because the athletic directors are telling the commissioner, "You're not going to be able to make the cap." So that's what's driving all this. That is what is stopping a lot of other talks going on. That is also what is driving the motivation and driving, one, the Super League conversations. Number two, private equity. Private equity being attached to super leagues or private equity being attached to single conferences because these schools need an influx of cash so they do not fall behind when it comes to the salary cap. So Mike Kazaza, what he said on West Virginia 247, and I had a bunch of people say this can't be right. I had two people DM me at the same time. This cannot be right. Well, it is right. It is. Well, that's what we've been being told. It's not easy to come up with this money, man. These athletic departments are not rolling in extra dough. Whatever extra money they do have, they pay down on their debt service, and other things that they owe on. Their football stadium, their new athletic village, their new practice facility, whatever it is, they've got debt, and they use that extra money to pay it down as fast as possible. They'd rather pay it down in 22 years other than 25 years or 30 years because it's going to save them $30 million, whatever. So that's what's driving all this. It's that salary cap to try to get there or try to get as close as possible. Now, and I want to clear something up. You don't have to go all the way. Like if you go into the system, it doesn't mean that you have to get to the top of the cap. That's not one of the. There is some, and I don't even remember anymore. And somebody can tell me in the chat room. somebody can tell them with the phone call. There are some, you have to pay. There are some guardrails, but you don't have to go all the way to the cap. So there's going to be some G5 schools that are going to be involved in this, possibly even some FCS schools involved in paying out student-athlete money. But again, one of those guardrails, it has to be for at least 50% of your scholarship players, whatever. I don't know. I don't even remember all the guardrails that were set. But I have been told there is going to be schools that are they're going to get themselves involved just a little bit into this. They have the advantage over the other schools in their conference. One of the examples is Liberty, which is an easy one. An easy example. There's going to be others. So that's chaos. That is chaos that is coming around the corner real fast. And then everybody's going to have a number, right? Every athletic director is going to say, we can do the 23 million. One athletic director is going to say, we can do 12. The other one's going to say 15. The other one's going to say 7.5. And then they're going to distribute it differently. Some are going to completely involve their female athletes. Some of them are not going to involve their not to 50-50. They're all going to handle it differently. It's going to be chaos. Let's move to the other chaos. The other chaos that we're looking at, again, a great article by Chappell Fowler. If I could have done a live show yesterday, and I could not, I apologize. I've been so busy lately. Where Clemson football stands with Miami and SMU in the ACC championship game tiebreaker. We're going to go through this quickly before we get to your phone calls, because I know a lot of people want to talk about college football and what they expect to see coming in this week, where their team, how they feel. Clemson, Dabo, Sweeney has been talking a lot about his team controlling its own destiny in the ACC championship race. But does Clemson really control their own destiny? No, they don't. No, they don't. 9 weeks into the season, though a crazy tiebreaker situation still exists in which Sweeney and the Tigers would have no direct control whether or not they appear in the conference title game in Charlotte. Instead, the Tigers could win out and still be at the mercy of an unforeseen metric. And I think it's number 5 on the tiebreaker board. Their opponents' combined conference winning percentage. I'm going to highlight that because that could decide a whole bunch of tiebreakers going forward. Their ACC opponents' combined conference winning percentage. So, the teams that you have played, that you have defeated during the conference schedule, you want desperately for them to beat the schools that you don't play on your conference schedule. Because that might decide whether an undefeated team goes to the championship game or not. As of Wednesday, 4 of the ACC's 17 member schools for the football remain undefeated in conference play. Number 11, Clemson, has sole possession of first place at 5-0. Number 5, Miami, and number 20, SMU are both 4-0. Number 18, Pittsburgh, is 3-0. There's 4 undefeated schools. Now, again, this particular chaos only happens if it's Miami, SMU, and Clemson. Pittsburgh, if they defeat SMU, they're going to be able to clear up this chaos somewhat. And that game happens this weekend. It's the first time in 57 years, dating back to 1967, that 4 ACC teams have entered the month of November undefeated in conference play. 57 years. Now, people might say, well, Greg, this is an anomaly, right? First time in 57 years. Don't worry about it. We'll get through this year. There's not going to be chaos in 25, 26, 27. Not in the ACC. This is like one of those comets that come around every 80, 88 years, every 2,000 years. It's not going to come around again. Well, the situation is this. These are larger conferences with unbalanced schedules, no divisions. This is going to happen again. We're going to be in the same situation at the beginning of November. Maybe not in the ACC next year. Maybe somewhere else. The Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12. It's going to happen again. Back to the article. And since Clemson, Miami, and SMU do not play each other during the 2024 regular season, the possibility of a three-way tie for first place in the ACC with all three schools finishing 8-0 still exists at the halfway point of the conference schedule. In that hypothetical situation, an ACC spokesman confirmed to the state the two participants for the December 7th league championship game could be determined by the combined winning percentage of their opponents. And I'm going to skip through some of this part. We're going to get to the schedules of the team in a second. Steps 1 and 2 involved head-to-head winning percentage. They don't play each other. Clemson, Miami, and SMU. Steps 3 and 4 involved winning percentage against common opponents. Clemson, Miami, and SMU have 2 common opponents this season, Florida State and Louisville. But again, that becomes a moot point if all 3 teams win out because they're all going to have the same record against their common opponents. They're going to be, all 3 schools are going to be 2-0. So we skip step 3 and 4. So then we go to step 5. Combine winning percentage of conference opponents. The spokesman said the metric would evaluate opponents' records in conference games only. As an example, Florida State is currently 1-7 overall, 1-6 in the ACC. The ACC would use the Seminoles conference record as 1-6. So it's conference record only. Here's how the metric currently stands for the 3 teams based on the combined ACC winning percentage of each team's 8 conference opponents for 2024 so far. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Clemson's ACC opponents are 16-21, a .432 winning percentage. Miami's ACC opponents are 16-22, a .421 winning percentage. SMU's ACC opponents, 13-24, .351 winning percentage. So Clemson's got the smallest of edge over Miami. And both Clemson and Miami have an edge over SMU. However, SMU plays Pittsburgh, right? They play them this week, and if they beat, and so Pittsburgh has a lot of wins in the conference, and that's going to help SMU's conference record right out of the chute, right after this week. How likely is there going to be a 3-team tiebreaker? How likely is this? A lot of games have to go a certain way over the next month for a potential 3-way tie among Clemson, Miami, and SMU to remain even a remote possibility. ESPN's analytics gives it a 6% chance of happening. Per network researcher Brian Ives and ESPN writer Bill Connolly, the SP Plus metric gives it a 3% chance of happening. For one, all 3 teams have to finish undefeated in conference play, which is no small task in any league. Miami is currently 5-0, with 3 ACC games remaining, 1 at home, 2 on the road. Miami has 4 ACC games, 2 at home, 2 on the road. SMU has 4 conference games, 3 at home, 1 on the road. Let's look at the conference schedule that they got. Clemson's remaining ACC schedule. So they're all looking to go 8-0. Versus Louisville, at home, 67% chance to win, according to ESPN. Saturday, November 9th, at Virginia Tech, 64% chance to win. Saturday, November 16th, at number 8, Pittsburgh, 65.4% chance to win. So it's all in the 60s for Clemson. Miami, Duke, 90% chance. At Georgia Tech, 75. Versus Wake Forest at home, 96. At Syracuse, 86. Even though Miami's got 4 games, Clemson's got 3 games. According to ESPN's, they believe that Miami's got a real good shot at going undefeated. SMU, 70% chance to beat Pittsburgh, 85% chance to beat Boston College, 76% chance to beat Virginia, 73.8% chance to beat California. Now, it's difficult, right? Even though SMU, Miami, and Clemson are the favorite in all their games, that is 11 football games. The last 11 football games, conference games, for Clemson, for SMU, for Miami, they got to go 11-0, even though they're favorite in all of them. 11-0, and if it happens, then we got some chaos. And then when you're looking at opponents, we're not going to break it down to that level. Not yet. But SMU is behind Clemson. And if you look at the conference, Clemson is in very good shape when it comes to opponents' conference records. Remember, they had just a little bit of an edge over Miami, just won half a game. But Louisville, Virginia Tech, and Pittsburgh, either decent to really good conference records. And these schools have got a good, real good record against other ACC. Clemson's in good shape. To me, it's between Miami and SMU on who would get the next spot. That's how I'm looking at it. Let me know if I'm looking at it incorrectly. But for me, it's almost like if Clemson goes undefeated, they've got the inside track. And on number 5 of the tiebreaker metric, I think they're going to get in. It's between SMU and it's between Miami for that last spot if they all go undefeated. Okay. Let me get to your comments here in a moment. I got to answer somebody real quick. Hold on. We're going to get to your comments. Phone calls. It's open line Thursday. Talk about anything you want in college football. These games coming up this week. Tulane is playing tonight. A very important game for Tulane. To stay within the American Athletic Conference race as they're chasing Army. Tulane has not lost the conference game. Army has not lost the conference game. Navy has not lost a conference game. And I know a lot of people like Pittsburgh. Immaculate's got Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh to cover. The PATC community's got Pittsburgh to cover. But there are questions. There are questions about Eli Holstein. Or at least there is a level of trepidation among Pittsburgh Panther fans on his health. If you are a Pittsburgh Panther fan or if you've heard any updates, let me know in the chat room or give me a phone call. There's a little worry about Eli Holstein's health going into that important game against SMU. Did Greg make his picks? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I took Penn State. I'll go through them real quick. It was a Tuesday show. I knew that we were going to have a hard time doing a show Wednesday yesterday. I took Penn State plus 3.5. So did the PATC community. Ole Miss versus Arkansas. We both took Arkansas. Plus 7. Minnesota at Illinois. Of course I took the Golden Gophers. They have absolutely turned the corner. They're favored by a field goal at Champaign, and the PATC community. You all stepped on a rake, and you guys took Illinois. We both took Oregon, Michigan, minus 15. We both took Georgia, minus 16.5. I took Michigan State. You all took Indiana. I took Texas Tech. You all took Iowa State. I took UCLA. The PATC community took Nebraska. We both took Clemson to cover against Louisville. I took South Carolina. You all took Texas A&M. I took Wisconsin. You all took Iowa. And we both took Pittsburgh. So that is the selection. And I did not have a winning record last week. So Greg the Gold has only showed up 1 week. And we are in the 10th week And Greg the Gold has only showed up one time. One time. Tuffy Duffy, the Wolverines are going to spend so much, they're going to get the number one player in this class straight out of LSU. And a few of his friends. Well, you're going to pay a whole lot of money. But, again, that $23 million is the top of the floor, so to speak. The rest of your money is coming from your collectives outside of your athletic department. And then that is where the Michigan, the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabamas, this is where the separation really happens. But the separation is also going to happen within this salary cap. Not everybody's going to reach it. Not everybody is going to reach it. Ryan Willie is in the house. Okay, let's open up the phone lines here. Let's open them up. Talk about anything you want in college football. Let me know if your school, if you believe you're going to reach the cap in the first year, 2025. Let me know what you're thinking about going into week 10. 763-260-1333. The lines are open. I got another question for you. Ryan Thomas thinks Pitt's going to win. Steve Vitt is taking Pittsburgh. A lot of Pittsburgh, except there is some worry about the quarterback.
Call from
Chef Maul.
Chef Maul, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, glad to be on the show, Greg. I had a couple interesting things. First thing is the Big Ten could have a three-way tie at the top as well, because Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana don't play each other.
Yeah,
so that's one thing no one's really saying too much.
You're
but
right.
It's a possibility. Question I have for you, Miami fan here, but just speaking more in general, given the way this season is going, if I'm the ACC and the Big 12, I think they need to fight to secure two spots. Because if you look at this season, Miami is doing very well. You got Clemson's only loss was to Georgia. And now you have like a team like SMU and Pitt who are both having really good years. And if there's a scenario where, let's say Clemson makes the ACC championship game, loses to Miami, they have two losses, Clemson might be able to have the resume and the cachet of a brand to maybe get in that playoff. However, let's say if this was Pitt or SMU loses in the championship game, or better yet, just use SMU. Let's say Miami plays SMU. If SMU loses to Miami, even though their out-of-conference loss is BYU, who might be a Big 12 champ, would they have the cachet to get in a 12-team playoff? Even if you, to me, and just let me know how you feel about it. I think if I'm the ACC and the Big 12, you have to have a goal to get at least two. That should be your objective, because if this year they don't get two, every year isn't going to be as convenient for those conferences to get multiple teams. I mean, if it increases, even if it increases to 14, 16, then yes. But I really think their biggest negotiation chip has to be to get those two spots. How do you feel about that?
So you want there to be an automatic two spots for the ACC and the Big 12? Is that what you're saying?
If I'm the ACC, that's what I would want.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's necessarily deserved. I mean, hey, ACC might be able to get three teams in this year.
Yeah,
but I also
understand. They get the floor of two. I mean, as a football fan, I don't like any of this. As a football fan, I don't like any of this automatic qualifier spot. I like the top four ranked conference champions to get an automatic bye, and then the fifth conference champion gets an automatic berth. I love that. Yeah, I want that to stay, because that incentivizes teams. really try to win that conference championship game, because if they don't, no matter what great season they had, they're not going to get a first round bye. So I want that. But so as a football fan, I say, nah. But as a commissioner, like, I understand. I get it. I understand it.
It's tricky, right?
Yeah,
like, I'm not
tricky.
like,
it's tricky.
banging the table for it. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if somehow Clemson loses to, let's say, Miami, or Clemson beats Miami, let's say if it's those two teams. Yeah. Or let's say if you get an SMU that runs the table because of this three-way tiebreaker, they're kind of stuck at 11-1. That's something that you would want to try to set something. That would just be my negotiation. If they're not going to get as much money as these, that's all where I was coming from with that.
Yeah. No, great point. Great call. That's all I can say. I don't know whether to agree with you or not. I get it, though. I understand it.
It's just something that that I've watched and
appreciate it, my man.
Thank you.
Great call. I'm sorry I don't have a great answer. Appreciate it. I don't know if, I get it. I get the arguments. Jose, thank you so much. Thank you so much for going live at this time. Go for Godfather makes my Atlanta commute much more bearable. Well, I'm glad I could help. And again, I really only got positive things to say about USC, so I don't think, I know their record isn't what they thought and everything, but I think they're going to be fine, and so I guess I'm not going to get you upset on your commute. I might get you upset at some point. I might. Jose, thank you so much for being a Cloak and Dagger member for the 11th month. Holy smokes! Thank you so much for your generosity. 11 months. You are hereby knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger. Ryan Willie, Greg must have opened up the freezer because it's freezing all the way over here in Wisconsin. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ryan Willie. Appreciate your generosity. Once again, it is a horrible day out there in Minnesota. I can tell you that. I wouldn't call it a blizzard. But it's windy, it's snowy. It's mush. The little general and I, we had a couple errands to do. It's terrible out there. I don't know if any golfer, any Minnesota person is in the chat. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Again, just a little bit of a warning to you Oregon Ducks, to you Washington Huskies, to you UCLA Bruins, to USC Trojans. One of these days, one of these years, we're going to get your team up here in late October, early November, and it's going to be a little different than what you're expecting in Minnesota, because we get it early and we get it late. That's why we can't have spring football games, because the second week in April, third week in April, we always have bad weather, a lot of snow at times. But we get it early, in that late October, but that early November, the middle of November, the late November, we're going to get your team up here one of these years. If Tony Petitti doesn't wimp out, hopefully it happens sooner rather than later. Thank you, Ryan Willie, for the super chat, for your generosity. Illini Ted, Minnesota beats two bottom Big Ten teams and a struggling USC team. And somehow they get favored coming to Champaign. Vegas wanting to take some of that Minnesota money. My goodness. My goodness. Oh, my God. Illini Ted, The Minnesota Golden Gophers are going up to Champaign, Illinois. And there isn't going to be any slowing up. It's all gas, no brake. All gas, no brake. The Minnesota Golden Gophers offense has found itself. It wasn't ready at the beginning of the year, but now it is. And Illinois got a little bit of nagging injuries. It sounds like most of the secondary is going to come back, but we'll see what happens. And by the way, I think people are going to be surprised how good UCLA finishes this season. I think people are going to be a little surprised. They're going to give the Cornhuskers a very good game on Saturday. So that win on the road to UCLA, that was just a tough rock fight. UCLA then went on to beat Rutgers on the road, and they're going to give the Cornhuskers. So bottom-dwelling teams, yes, we blew the doors off of Maryland. We beat USC in a great game. Illinois is in a lot of trouble. Rock and rant, there could be a role for those not in the playoff conversation in each conference in these tiebreakers come to pass. They can make a big impact if they sit players in the last game. That's also true. If you're a Miami Hurricane fan, the teams that you have played and beaten, you want them to beat the teams you have not played on your schedule. It's as simple as that. SMU, you're rooting for the teams that you have played on your schedule to beat the teams that you don't have on your schedule. And the same thing, of course, with Clemson. That's where we're at with this tiebreaker. Now, again, according to these algorithms and mathematical algorithms, there's only a 6% chance of it happening, 3% chance of it happening. It's tough to keep winning even when you're the favorite. We all know this. But can all three schools stay undefeated? BJ says Illinois by 10 with a late TD. Cloak and Dagger, Pac-12 and friends. I'm not going to put out any more detail than it does have to do with realignment. We've been sitting on the story we're going to go way over the tip of our skis on something. We've been sitting on it for 3 weeks, and I cannot say anything until I get the go-ahead. But I'm not going to get into any more detail than that. So I apologize. But at some point...
Call from
Jose, fight on.
Jose is on the line. USC Fighting Trojan. The floor is yours.
I just wanted to give you a call here while I'm driving. I just walked through the Beltway, and I'm closer to home and getting ready to set up some trick-or-treating for the neighbor's kids. I don't know if my connection is okay.
Your connection's fine. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so yeah, one thing that I was thinking about with having 3 undefeated teams in the ACC, if this will just I don't know if it has any influence on it, but progress having conference playoffs to where you have the top 4 teams square off, and also on a side note, maybe not even necessarily having to do it on your 12th game. Now that players are being paid, asking them to play 13 games might not be too far of a stretch. I know before when, players were not getting paid, going beyond a 12-game regular season schedule was taboo. But now that, pretty soon they're going to be on a salary payroll, asking them to play, 12 regular season games plus 2 potential conference playoff games. Do you think that might be too much of a stretch, or could it be a reality?
I mean, it could be a reality. I don't. One of the leading motivation, the leading motivations to have a conference semifinal, a conference semifinal is for more money, for more revenue. So I think they're going to try to do this within the 12-game conference schedule. That last conference game is a flex game. But maybe they're going to have to go to a 13th game and then the conference game being 14. I don't think they want to do it because, again, more money, more cost. But however they do it, the leading motivation is money. Also, it can clear up this tiebreaker situation because sure, you could have tiebreakers among the 3rd, 4th, 5th place team in the conference, right?
Right.
But again, so you're going to have tiebreakers anyways. But it might help alleviate that a little bit. But they don't want to go to pots. They don't want to go to divisions. That might change, but they don't want to do that. Their media partners don't want to do that. The athletic directors don't want to do that. They want what's going on this year. That's what they wanted. And I think they're liking it. I think this is working out. But yeah, it could alleviate the tiebreakers situation a little bit. But the leading motivation is definitely money if they happen to do it.
Yeah, with the players ceiling, not ceiling, but floor as far as minimum payments that are be coming to them. Mm-hmm. And then, I'd love to see my Trojans head up to Minnesota in November and battle the snow. But I looked at our team store, and we don't have any parkas. They haven't even designed any cold weather gear there. I've been looking over the past year, and I'm going to have to place a call and say, hey, we need some parkas in case we ever do have to go up to Minnesota in November.
Yes. Some USC Trojans parkas, absolutely. They need this. They need to get on the ball down there.
Yeah, we got to get on it quick.
Yeah,
they didn't look ahead that far.
Yeah.
All right,
man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guy.
Yep.
Great
Fight on.
Jose USC. Chef Mall, SMU's weaker conference schedule will keep them in 3rd. I really try to break that down early. Not necessarily. Now, again, they play Pittsburgh this week, right? So that's going to catch them up to, just that game alone is going to catch them up to Miami. When it comes to opponents' records, conference opponents' records. So, we'll see. We'll see. Ryan Willie, they'll probably have the Gophers favored over the Badgers in Madison. Well, it all depends. I mean, if the Gophers get crushed by Illinois and Penn State and yeah. But the dream scenario for my Golden Gophers, the dream scenario that they're working on is to go down to Illinois, defeat Illinois, and then defeat a struggling Rutgers, and then they get Penn State in Huntington Bank Stadium. That is the dream scenario. An undefeated Penn State or a one-loss Penn State against the 5-2 Golden Gophers. That is what the Golden Gophers are working towards. That game will probably be at night. And the last time the Gophers and Penn State had a big game at Huntington Bank Stadium in 2019, when an undefeated Minnesota 8-0, an undefeated Penn State 8-0, the Gophers defeated Penn State 31-26. That's what we're hoping for. That is the dream scenario.
Call from
Evil Badger.
Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, the floor is yours.
Greg, I just want to comment about something that your previous caller said.
Got it.
That the USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon don't really have cool with the gear. Well, as I recall, several years ago, USC refused to play Notre Dame in November because it was too cold for them to come out to Indiana to play Notre Dame.
Oh. Yeah, I don't remember that.
They would not go past October
Okay.
to play Notre Dame in Indiana in South Bend.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't have any parkas or them out there, because they're not used to it, and they'll probably make the schedule to where they don't have to come out that late in the season.
Well, you and
Wisconsin.
Jose should get together and start making these, build a company, start making these parkas, Big Ten, USC parkas, UCLA parkas, and start selling them on a website.
I just think that USC is too soft because they don't want to come out to the cold weather climate.
Yeah, we can run our lips right now, but wait until USC comes and plays us in November and they kick our butts. Then we're not going to be able to talk anymore, right? So we got to get our shots in now, I guess.
Well, I would take a shot now because, first of all, I don't think they're going to come out to.
Well, they're going to
Wisconsin
schedule. No,
or
the Big
Minnesota.
Ten. The Big Ten's going to schedule it someday.
They're going to do USC and UCLA a favor and not schedule them that late.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all I had.
All right, man. I appreciate
Go
the call.
Badgers.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Ryan Willie. Great call by Ryan Willie. Phone lines open, 763-260-1333. Is your team going to be a team? Your program that you root for, are they going to be able to meet the cap, the $23 million cap? Because I think there's going to be some schools out there that are not going to be able to do it, and they're going to surprise their fan base, and it's going to cause some, I don't know what it's going to cause. Some tough feelings, I'm guessing. Some anger, maybe. Or reality's going to hit. Give me a call. We have got big games coming up this Week 10 schedule. Let's go through it real quick once again. We got a big game tonight. Big game tonight. Tulane at Charlotte. Tulane is undefeated in the American Athletic Conference. They got to remain undefeated to keep up with Army and Navy. Tulane at Charlotte. Then tomorrow night, Again, San Diego State at Boise State. Boise State has another big Friday night game as they march towards being the G5 representative into the college football playoff. I don't know if UConn has won that sixth game yet. This game might be for bowl eligibility for the Huskies. Let's click that on real quick. They're 5-3. Yep, 5-3. So that game is for bowl eligibility for UConn. And then Saturday, Ohio State and Penn State. Will the Buckeyes wake up? Will the Buckeyes finally wake up? They got to let the quarterback try to win this game for them. They cannot hold them back anymore. Let him rip. Let him use those great wide receivers. If you need extra blocking on the left side of the line, then keep Henderson, keep Judkins, keep a tight end, chip the guy, the defensive end. If you need a max protect, go ahead. But you got to get those great wide receivers out there. You got to take shots downfield against the Nittany Lions. You got to give your quarterback a chance to win this game. Use that talent. Duke and Miami, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Army looking to win, to stay undefeated. Minnesota, Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Stanford, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Oregon, number 1 Oregon at Michigan, the Big House, Florida at Georgia, Texas Tech at Iowa State and Ames. Iowa State looking to remain undefeated in the Big 12 conference race. Indiana looking to remain undefeated at Michigan State. That's going to be a big game. Kansas State playing an upstart Houston Cougars. Willie Fritz has got the Cougars playing better. UCLA at Nebraska. A big game for Nebraska. If they win this game, they are bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. Arizona State, Oklahoma State. Texas A&M at South Carolina. Texas A&M looking to stay at the top of the SEC conference race. Louisville at Clemson. Wisconsin at Iowa. USC at Washington. And that is a Big Ten conference game. The Trojans and the Huskies. Tennessee, Kentucky, Pittsburgh, SMU. Pittsburgh, SMU. Give us a call. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Ryan Thomas, the Buckeyes need to use those receivers. He's got Penn State. BJ says Tulane by 21 tonight. Give us a call. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Behringer, Mariah Carey has a good song called To the Floor. Maybe I need to sing that song. Is that going to be a PATC rendition? Can I sing a Mariah Carey song? Probably not. Probably not. I'm probably not good enough to sing that song. Okay, we are going to shut it down. Looks like the phone calls are not coming in. I appreciate everybody for coming on in. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe before you leave. Smash the like button if you like our content. Chaos in college football is coming around. It's peeking around the corner when it comes to these tiebreakers and when it comes to schools trying to get to the top of the salary cap. Some are not going to make it. That is the consensus, the chatter behind the curtain. We've given you the Paul Revere warnings. We've flown up the flag. A lot of these athletic directors having a hard time coming up with the cash, and that is why these commissioners are being so aggressive in trying to find new revenue streams, be it private equity, being scheduling between two conferences, possibility of a 4-team conference playoffs. All these options are on the table as commissioners are trying to find a way for these athletic directors to help their programs be able to pay the student athletes $22, $23 million a year. I appreciate you all coming on in. Tomorrow, keep your head on a swivel. Again, we're sitting on a story that's going to first pop in our membership-only episodes, Cloak and Dagger. If you're looking to be a member, go to our link provided in the description box. Hit the link, hit the join button, become a member of our YouTube channel. That is where this story is going to hit first. We've been sitting on it for 3 weeks. Once we get the okay, it's going to be, well, my name is going to get raked over the coals, and that is just fine. That is where I feel the most comfortable. So anyways, until then, until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.